But today, we're taking a deep dive into the story of Jermaine Jackson.
Ah, yes, Jermaine Jackson, a fascinating figure.
He's definitely seen his fair share of controversy over the years, that's for sure. So, was it just jealousy? I mean, come on, you're in the Jackson family, right?
Yeah.
Or was it a bunch of bad decisions he made? Or maybe something even deeper? That's what we're here to figure out, right?
I think that's the real draw here, isn't it? It's not just about the music, though that's certainly a huge part of it. What makes Jermaine's story so intriguing is how deeply intertwined everything is.
Yeah.
You've got the family drama, the professional rivalries, and then all the controversies.
Right.
It's all connected.
Yeah, it all kind of swirls together, doesn't it?
It does.
Like a tornado, I guess.
Yeah, a whirlwind of sorts.
To really wrap your head around it all, you got to go back to the beginning.
Absolutely.
Jermaine, born in 1954, he was there, a founding member, a key piece of the early Jackson 5 sound.
Right from the start.
That silky smooth voice, and he played bass too.
Yeah. A lot of people don't realize that.
Not a lot of people know that. And he shared lead vocals with Michael, too.
It's true, a real double threat.
It's easy to forget that this massive family all lived together in a really small house, in Gary, Indiana. It's mind-boggling when you picture it.
That must have been something else.
Tito and Marlon, top bunk. Michael and Jackie, the middle bunk. And little Marlon on the bottom.
Jackie was on the bottom, wasn't
Oh, yeah, you're right. Jackie was on the bottom.
That's right.
Jermaine and Randy, who came along later, they were part of that, too.
Packed in like sardines.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of closeness has to have an impact.
Oh, without a doubt. That level of intimacy, that shared experience, it forges strong bonds, but it can also, it can breed friction.
Yeah.
As those individual ambitions and identities start to emerge.
Okay, so let's talk about a huge turning point in their careers. When the Jackson 5 decided to leave Motown.
Oh yeah, that was a big one.
It shook things up.
It did.
The rest of the group, they headed to a new label.
CBS Records, right?
CBS Records, that's right. But Jermaine, he made a different choice. He stayed with Motown.
Interesting. So why do you think he did that?
Well, two big reasons come to mind, and they're both really important to understanding Jermaine. First off, loyalty. You gotta remember, Motown wasn't just a record label, it was a machine, It was a powerhouse that shaped their image, their sound.
A Motown sound, absolutely legendary.
So walk away from that, it would have been a massive break.
A huge statement.
But then there's the other reason, maybe even more powerful, Hazel Gordy.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Berry Gordy's daughter.
Right?
The very head of Motown.
And Jermaine was married to her.
Now that adds a whole other layer of complexity.
Doesn't it?
It does.
By all accounts, Hazel was super supportive of Jermaine's career.
That's really sweet.
I came across this quote where she talked about how excited she and the kids would get whenever Jermaine was on TV. They'll rush to watch him. It paints a picture of a happy family, very much embedded in the whole Motown world.
So you've got that loyalty to the label itself and this deep personal connection.
Exactly. It wasn't just about the music, it was about family.
It's hard to separate the two, isn't it?
Yeah.
Especially when your family is your business.
Totally. And this decision, it highlights that constant push and pull between what you want for yourself and what's best for the family. A theme, by the way, that pops up again and again with the Jacksons.
We're going to see that play out, aren't we?
Oh, yeah. But, so Jermaine stays at Motown, and the rest of the brothers, they become the Jacksons, right? This is 1975. And that leaves a spot open.
A spot that needed filling.
Enter Randy.
The youngest brother.
Yeah, born in 1961, so quite a bit younger.
He was practically a baby compared to some of the others.
But despite that, Randy jumped right in and proved himself.
Oh, he was talented, that's for sure.
A gifted musician, a songwriter, and he really helped shape that new Jackson sound.
It couldn't have been easy stepping into those shoes.
He couldn't have. It's one thing to join a band. It's another to join a band with that kind of history, that level of success.
The pressure must have been immense.
Now buckle up, because things are about to get really messy. And this is where all those close family ties we've been talking about, they really get tangled up.
Uh-oh. This sounds juicy.
Oh, it is. It's the Alejandra Oasia situation.
Okay, let's hear it.
It starts in 1986 with a relationship between Randy and Alejandra.
Right.
She's 17, he's 24.
Oh, that's a pretty big age difference there.
Yeah, and they have two kids together. Genevieve is born in 89, and then Stephen comes along in 92. And Genevieve, she's actually said, and I quote, "I have one mother, but two fathers who happen to be brothers."
Wow. That's something else.
It really is, and it's such a mature and insightful way to describe a very unusual family situation. It really captures how intertwined their lives were. And It's another example of how fame and family can collide in spectacular fashion, blurring the lines between private and public.
I think that quote from Genevieve is so revealing.
Yeah.
It speaks volumes about the complicated dynamics she grew up in and the lasting impact it had on her.
Okay, so the relationship between Randy and Alejandra, it was rocky, to say the least.
Oh, is that so?
They were together for a while, but never married.
Unconventional?
Yeah. And apparently, Randy struggled to be a responsible dad.
That's unfortunate.
It is. Then, in 1989, while he's still with Alejandra, Randy goes and marries Eliza Shaffey.
Wait, what? He marries someone else while he's still with Alejandra?
Yeah.
That's bold.
It's a lot. They have a daughter, Stana, but the marriage, it falls apart pretty quickly. The rumors were that Randy cheated and was abusive.
Oh, that's heavy stuff.
Yeah. So at this point, you've got this web of broken relationships, fractured bonds, and it's about to get even more complicated.
Oh boy, how so?
Well, this is where Jermaine comes back into the picture in a big way. He starts a secret relationship with Alejandra.
You mean with Randy's Alejandra?
Randy's Alejandra, behind Randy's back.
Oh no, that's a huge betrayal.
And they got married in 1995. Secretly.
Secretly. So Randy had no idea?
Nope. And can you imagine how he felt when he found out?
I mean, I can only imagine. To be betrayed by your own brother like that cuts deep.
It does. Randy was devastated, absolutely devastated. He said that if Alejandra had run off with anyone else, it wouldn't have been so bad, but to be with his brother, that was just the ultimate betrayal. He called her disrespectful and Jermaine a fool.
Well, I don't blame him for feeling that way. That's awful.
Yeah, talk about a breach of trust.
And then what happened after that?
Well, after the wedding, Alejandra's kids with Randy, they ended up living with Jermaine.
So the kids were now being raised by their uncle, who had married their mother.
Exactly. It's a lot to unpack. And to make things even more complicated, Jermaine and Alejandra, they went on to have 2 more kids together.
So this blended family is growing even bigger.
It is. And as you can imagine, things got messy with money.
Oh yeah, that was bound to happen.
Randy, he claimed that he shouldn't have to pay child support since his kids were living under the same roof as another Jackson.
I can see his point.
But the court didn't agree.
They didn't.
Nope. They ruled that Randy still had to pay, and he ended up racking up a massive debt, over $600,000 in unpaid child support.
Wow, that's a lot of money.
It is, and it really highlights the legal and financial minefield that comes with these kinds of unconventional family arrangements.
Yeah, you've got these personal dramas playing out, and then there's the added layer of wealth and public scrutiny. It gets really messy really fast.
Okay, so Jermaine and Alejandra, they finally call it quits in 2004. It wasn't pretty.
Really? How did it end?
He basically just left divorce papers and went on tour.
Oh, wow. Cold.
Yeah, not the most graceful exit. And Jermaine's romantic life, it didn't slow down.
It didn't?
No. He had this, I don't know, maybe you could call it a wedding ceremony with another woman, Leanda, at a mosque, while he was still married to Alejandra.
While he was still married.
Still married. Then he married Halima Rashid in 2005.
Another marriage.
That one ended in divorce in 2016.
So, string of relationships.
Oh, yeah. And he's also been linked to a woman named Madi Velasquez.
Okay. And what about Alejandra? What happened to her?
Well, she stayed at the Jackson family compound
Right.
for 21 years.
21 years.
Rent-free.
Wow. And how much did that cost the estate?
Reports say around $60,000 a month.
$60,000 a month.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
It is. So yeah, a lot of questions there about family obligations and financial boundaries.
It's a complicated situation, that's for sure.
Now let's talk about another big source of tension in Jermaine's life, his relationship with Michael.
Ah, yes. The brothers. It's the stuff of legends.
For sure. But it wasn't all sunshine and roses. There were always whispers about jealousy. Jermaine being envious of Michael's success.
I mean, who wouldn't be a little jealous?
Yeah.
Michael was Michael.
He was a global icon.
Exactly.
And some accounts describe Jermaine's jealousy as pretty blatant. I mean, you've got 2 brothers, incredibly talented, both in the same industry, but one becomes a superstar on a level the other just can't touch.
I imagine that would be hard to deal with.
I think it would be tough for anyone.
Sibling rivalry on steroids.
Yeah, exactly. And then you've got Clive Davis, the music mogul.
Oh, Clive Davis. He's worked with everyone.
He has. And in his autobiography, he actually claims that Michael tried to sabotage Jermaine's solo career.
Really? How so?
He said that Michael tried to stop songwriters from working with Jermaine, and apparently he even kept Babyface busy just so he couldn't work on Jermaine's 4th album.
Wow. If that's true, that's pretty cutthroat.
Jermaine was reportedly really upset about it, like crying and sobbing. It was a big deal for him.
I can understand why. To think your own brother would try to undermine your career, that's heartbreaking.
It is. And it seems like Jermaine's song, Word to the Bad, was his way of responding.
Really? That song was about Michael.
Yeah, a lot of people think so. It paints Michael as kind of selfish and uncaring.
Interesting. A musical jabback. And it wasn't just Jermaine, was it?
No, it wasn't. Michael's former PR manager, Bob Jones, he claimed that Michael actually tried to hurt the careers of several of his siblings, Jermaine, Rebby, and LaToya.
Wow, so there was a lot of bad blood there.
It seems that way. And during those peak years of Michael's solo success from 84 to 92, he and Jermaine barely spoke. They maybe saw each other 3 times a year, if that.
So there was a real distance between them.
Yeah, real distance. You know, whether it was all about jealousy or other issues, it was a strained relationship.
A rift that was never really healed.
Unfortunately not. And the sad thing is, the drama didn't end when Michael passed away.
Oh, right, the will.
Yeah, his will. It left everything to his mother and his kids.
His siblings were completely left out.
Completely left out. And that sparked a whole new wave of controversy.
Understandably so.
Some of the siblings, including Jermaine, Janet, and Randy, they questioned whether the will was even real.
They thought it was fake.
They did. They believed it was a forgery, though they missed the deadline to legally challenge it.
So nothing came of that?
Nope. But the exclusion, it really hit a nerve. And you can understand why, right?
Of course. I mean, they were family.
Family. And they shared this incredible history, this legacy.
It's about more than just money at that point.
Right. It's about feeling valued, recognized.
I mean, part of the legacy.
Exactly.
So what happened after the will reading?
Well, there were these public arguments about the estate, about who controlled what.
Oh no, that sounds like a mess.
It was. Jermaine was involved at first, you know, questioning the executors and all of that, but then he kind of backtracked, started calling for peace, saying things like love, not war.
A change of heart.
Maybe. Or maybe just realizing that the fighting was getting out of hand. And then there was the whole guardianship situation with Katherine Jackson.
What happened there?
Well, she was in Arizona for a while and for whatever reason, temporarily lost guardianship of Michael's kids.
Oh, wow. That's a big deal.
It was. TJ Jackson, Tito's son, stepped in as temporary co-guardian.
Stepping up for the family.
He did. But then there was this incident where Jermaine, Janet, and Randy, they allegedly tried to take Michael's kids from the family home.
What?
Yeah, the police even got involved, and there were these public back and forths with Paris Jackson on social media. It was messy.
That's intense.
It was a really rough period, you know, a lot of public fighting and accusations. It was sad to see.
It's tough when family disputes spill out into the public like that.
It is. And, you know, Jermaine eventually apologized for his part in it all. It seems like he realized that things had gone too far.
Realizing the damage it was causing?
Yeah, exactly. Now, shifting gears a bit, let's talk about Randy's testimony in the wrongful death trial against ADG Live.
The concert promoter.
Right. And this testimony really sheds light on Michael's struggles with drugs.
Oh, that's right. He spoke about that.
He did. He talked about how the family had been trying to get Michael help for years, going all the way back to the 90s.
A long and difficult battle.
It was. And Randy said that they tried everything. Interventions, rehab, the whole 9 yards.
And who was involved in these interventions?
Well, several siblings, Rebby, Tito, Janet, Marlon, even their father, Joe. But apparently their mother, Catherine, she wasn't always there.
That's interesting.
Randy thought maybe she was in denial about the whole thing. He also described specific moments that really worried him, like seeing Michael slurring his speech, catching the nanny getting medications. He even ended up firing the nanny because of it.
He was clearly very concerned about Michael's well-being.
He was. And he said he had no clue about the propofol until after Michael's death. Apparently in those last 5 years, he hadn't been able to see Michael much at all. Security wouldn't let him visit.
Wow, that's really sad. To be kept away from your own brother like that.
It is. It really paints a picture of isolation, doesn't it?
It does. Surrounded by people, but still alone.
Randy also talked about how he took Michael to the hospital during that 2005 child molestation trial. He thought Michael was high at the time.
A very difficult time for Michael, for sure.
It was. So you have this picture emerging of a family that deeply cared for Michael, that was trying to help him, but ultimately felt powerless.
That feeling of helplessness, it must have been incredibly frustrating.
I'm sure it was. They were watching him struggle, but they couldn't force him to get help.
Addiction is such a complex issue. And when you add fame and fortune to the mix, it only gets more complicated.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've talked about a lot of heavy stuff here, family drama, addiction. But we also have to talk about something very serious that came up in 1988. A sexual assault allegation against Jermaine.
Oh, right. I remember reading about that.
A woman named Rita Barrett, she filed a lawsuit against him. She accused him of sexual assault, battery, and negligence.
That's a serious accusation.
It is. She claimed that Jermaine broke into her house and attacked her. She said she knew him through her work in the music industry, that she had connections to Berry Gordy, the founder of Motown.
So there was a professional connection.
Yeah. And she was seeking financial compensation. Now, Rolling Stone reported on this at the time, but they said they couldn't get a hold of Jermaine's people for comment. Barrett's lawyer, he said that his client was looking for justice for herself and for any other potential victims out there.
It's important to take accusations like this seriously.
Absolutely. These are very serious allegations, and we need to acknowledge the gravity of the situation and the impact it had on her. We have to rely on the information that's available, and it's unfortunate that there wasn't a public response from Jermaine's side at the time.
Right. It makes it difficult to present a complete picture.
It does. Okay, now, despite all the ups and downs, the controversies, Jermaine's still had a public presence. He's dabbled in reality TV and continued to make music.
I remember that reality show, The Jacksons, a family dynasty.
Right. It aired in 2009, but people had mixed feelings about it. Some thought it felt staged, not genuine.
Reality TV can be tricky like that. Hard to tell what's real and what's for the cameras.
Totally. But then there was Celebrity Big Brother. He was on that in the UK.
How'd he do?
He came in second.
Not bad.
And then there was Gone Country, and even an episode of Celebrity Wife Swap with Halima Rashid.
Wow, he really embraced the reality TV circuit.
He did. It seems like he was trying to keep his name out there, shape his image a bit.
Maybe try to control the narrative a little bit.
Yeah, maybe. But we can't forget about his solo music career.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
He was making music even when he was with the Jackson 5.
He was. His song, Daddy's Home, it sold over 1 million copies.
That's a huge hit.
And he stayed with Motown, remember, even when the others left.
Right, right.
He had some pretty big songs. That's How Love Goes, Let's Be Young Tonight, Feel the Fire, Let Me Tickle Your Fancy, and Let's Get Serious. Even got him a Grammy nomination.
That's a big deal. A Grammy nomination is nothing to sneeze at.
Definitely not. And he did some collaborations too, with Michael on Tell Me I'm Not Dreaming, with Rockwell on Somebody's Watching Me, that was a classic, and with Pia Zadora on When the Rain Begins to Fall.
You got around.
His last big hit was Don't Take It Personal in 1989.
Ah, I remember that one.
And, Jermaine wasn't just the singer.
Oh, right. He was a really good bass player, too.
He was. He even played some of the parts originally recorded by the legendary James Jamerson. The guy who basically defined the Motown bass sound.
James Jamerson. Wow. That takes some serious skill.
It does. And Jermaine did it on a Gibson EB3, no less.
Nice.
Yeah. And he wrote and produced for other artists, too. Switch, early Whitney Houston. He had his hand in a lot of projects.
So he was a real talent behind the scenes as well.
Oh, yeah. And he was part of that big Jackson Family Honors concert in '94, plus continued making those TV appearances.
A busy guy.
He was. So even with all the drama, he managed to build a pretty impressive solo career.
It's easy to forget that when you focus on the controversies, but he definitely made his mark on the music industry.
He did. So as we wrap up our deep dive into the life of Jermaine Jackson, it's clear that his story is one of immense talent, deep family bonds, and a whole lot of complexity.
Yeah, life lived in the spotlight with all its highs and lows.
We've talked about loyalty and betrayal, the challenges of sibling rivalry in a family of superstars, personal struggles, and moments of attempted reconciliation.
Real roller coaster ride.
It was, and it all happened under the constant glare of the media,
That kind of pressure can be crushing.
It can. And it forces us to ask, how would we handle that? How would any of us cope with that kind of scrutiny, those expectations?
It's a good question, one that makes you think.
Right. And at the beginning, we asked, was the negativity around Jermaine just jealousy, or was it something more?
The age-old question.
And the answer, like most things in life, is complicated. The tension with Michael, it was real, there's no denying that. But Jermaine's own actions, his choices, they played a part too.
It's all part of the tapestry.
It is. And his story is a potent reminder of how personal and professional lives, they can get all tangled up, especially for families in the public eye.
It makes you appreciate the unique pressures they face and the challenges they navigate.
It does. So there you have it, folks. The story of Jermaine Jackson. It's a reminder that even within the most famous families, there's a human story, one filled with ambition, conflict, and the search for connection. And sometimes, the greatest successes and the most painful heartbreaks, they're closely intertwined.
Wise words. And with that, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive.
We have. Thanks for joining us, everyone.